I do want to cover like three of the top mistakes that I tended to make in the past related to my weight. Looking back on it, realizing why I had such difficulty with my weight. Susan Ballou here with Life Health Rewritten. Just a quick reminder that anything in this video is not meant to be medical advice, but for entertainment and information purposes only. So please enjoy. Welcome to Friday again for Life Health Rewritten. It's good to be back with you again this Friday. So we're in the last couple of weeks of September. This coming weekend is beginning of fall. And so end of summer, I always kind of think about, like summer foods, and then you're going on into the whole comfort foods and all of that. And as the days start shortening up just a little bit, that type of thing. When we used to live up in Oregon where I had a garden, except when deer got it, and then still a mess. Here it's the bunnies, there it was the deer. But here on top of it, we also have, weeks on end of triple digits, and a lot of the stuff that I would grow didn't like it. Like I would be more into like the cucumbers and tomatoes and things like that. And so clearly here, they're a different season. So, but that being said, I still have these flavors that I grew up with that were end of summer flavors, and I've thought a lot about that. The theme for the rest of September that I'm going to try to focus on is what are healthy foods? And so thinking a little bit about like summer tastes and flavors and things like that. And so this week and next week, my plan is to kind of talk about what are healthy foods, and I'm going to break it up a little bit. But end of summer foods, like I said, a garden or farmer's garden. When we lived up in Oregon, did a lot of farmer's gardens, went to the big farms and really enjoyed those. And so I'd have just different things that anytime I taste them, I still think, ooh, summer. I do want to cover like three of the top mistakes that I tended to make in the past with related to my weight. Looking back on it, realizing why I had such difficulty with my weight. I was taking a look at some recipes that came through and thinking about some of my own recipes that I used a lot of, and was kind of curious about it. So I went back and I went into when I was first married, it's kind of traditional, your family gives you a cookbook that the women in the family started stuff, and there's some really cool recipes in there and a lot of stuff handed down and very special. And then I added through the years. And as I was looking, I had a hard time finding things that I could eat now without having to do a makeover on them. A very high percentage had sugar in them, and a lot of them had a lot of the other things that would either cause inflammation or weight gain. Now, granted, I weighed a lot more, like a whole person more back in the time when I was using a lot of those recipes. And the more I've learned about this, the more I've learned why. And it's like, oh, yeah, a person just doesn't even realize. If you're not really paying attention, you don't really realize where some of this stuff comes, what is in all of the food. Now, I'm kind of looking forward to October. My October focus is going to be, I've tried to kind of name things, and, I'm a little cutesy on stuff. Oh, okay, a bird. What do we have in October? Well, it's Halloween. What's everywhere when you walk into the stores? Candy everywhere. And so my focus for October, I'm gonna really plan to dive deep in sugars, hidden sugars, things that we think of are healthy that maybe aren't so much, that type of thing. For anyone who subscribes to my emails or already is subscribing, my plan for October is to put together a little bit of a guide of what sugars you're looking for, and then what substitutes can be used that, at least for me, have not raised my blood sugar. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about all of that. It's very body specific, and so that's one of the things that I do want to dive into a little bit today. I remember always for picnics and things like that, my mom always made this 3-bean salad, and then when I grew up, I did the same thing because I loved it. And really, I think it's more of a 4-bean salad the way that we would make it. And it was based off of we found it in one of those old classic cookbooks, the kinds I'm talking about. There was one that was kind of a bright orange, and there was one that was like a red and white checked. And you just always would go look through that cookbook and get some of these things. I didn't even write them in my books because it was just a standard go to that cookbook. And so I was looking stuff up. I don't know, I may have that cookbook still on a shelf, but I decided to look it up online and I found it and I found the recipe. And so for the recipe, it had 4 cans of beans, and there was a green bean, there was a yellow wax bean, there was a can of red kidney beans, and a can of garbanzo beans. And, we all know that beans can be considered healthy. I actually eat green beans quite a bit. They don't seem to impact my blood sugar at all. I have to be really careful with like the red beans. And I love garbanzo beans. I love hummus, but I use it as a treat just occasionally. And then I really kind of keep an eye out on what does it do to my blood sugar? How much can I eat without it jacking it up too much? That type of thing. And here again, I always like to go back to saying I'm not diabetic, but I am concerned about not spiking my blood sugar a lot because I don't want to spike my insulin a ton, because that is what causes all of the weight, causes me at least, to really pack the pounds on, and I seem to have more symptoms of inflammation as well with it. So as I was looking at this though, so it's 4 cans of beans, just your standard cans, 1/3 cup of sugar, 1/3 cup, a sliced onion, vinegar, canola oil. So, and then what did it say for how many servings there were? Well, there's the rub. It said that there were 12 servings in that. Well, first of all, I would use double the cans of that. So with just 4 cans, for me, I got to thinking about it. It's like, no, that would be 4 servings for me, because we would eat a large amount of it. It wasn't like... It wasn't like a condiment. We'd put it in a bowl and you'd eat it and then have, at least I would, because I loved this stuff. So I did the math on all of this and I was like, okay, well, it said that for each of those 12 servings, each serving has 28 grams of carbs in it, 7 grams of fiber for anybody that's doing the whole net gram. Now, what net grams are, for any of you that aren't familiar with the whole keto life, net grams are for some people. They'll take the carbs and they'll subtract the amount of the fiber, and then they'll say that's their net carbs because the fiber is supposed to not, cut down on the absorption. Here again, as I stress with my program, with the stuff that I've done and with what I help other people do, is pay attention to what happens with my own body. For me, I haven't noticed that too much of that fiber makes a huge difference when it comes to carb items. Now, when I say that, occasionally, say for example, if we go to a restaurant and I just decide, and I don't do this very often, it's been a long time, I really try to not, but you'll get a baked potato, and if I have the whole potato, now my blood sugar is going to skyrocket. As much I love it, love it. It doesn't do the same thing as far as hurting me and making me sick like wheat and corn and that type of thing seem to be doing, but it still raises my blood sugar and makes me exhausted. One of the things that I have noticed and experimented, though, if I can be, kind of use some discipline, is if I take out the middle, put the stuff in just order the stuff on the side, like sour cream and all of that, and even sour cream I don't do a ton of, but butter and that type of thing. Put it just in the potato skin, which I grew up loving. So to me now, for people that leave their potato skin, I never understood that, but I know there's a lot of people that do. But I grew up loving potato skins. But you order the actual potato skin hors d'oeuvres, and they have so much stuff on them, and you don't know exactly what they are, and so yeah, don't do that. I don't do that, but if I do the other, there's enough fiber in that it, to me, does not feel like it raises my blood sugar as much. Now, granted, I usually don't carry a machine with me where I'm not diabetic, so I haven't actually tested it out. But, I don't need the huge nap that I do if I eat the whole fluffy, wonderful, starchy part of the inside. So that is not scientific. That would be a total, you would have to see what worked for you. But I just say that to say that type of heavy duty fiber might cut down with something like that, it might work to say, okay, yeah, probably net carbs, because I'm probably not absorbing as much. And I would also have to look and see. My guess is that the carb count on like a really crispy, not crispy, but a real kind of dry cooked potato, I don't know what it is, the skin, I would have to look and see. But anyway, I digress. Get off the bunny trail, get back on. Figuring it all out, doing the math, 12 servings was a total of 336 grams of carbs for that total salad. 84 grams of fiber if you're going with that. But if I'm just doing total, which really beans aren't enough fiber for me, that I found that it impacts and changes too much. So I just have to call it what it is. Like the garbanzo and or chickpeas, some people call them, the garbanzos and the red kidney beans. Those both are fairly high and do impact me. So let's say all of it together. You take that, the amount that it says 28 grams of carbs for times 12 servings, that's 336. And I'm serious, with 4 cans of beans, that's 4 servings for me, because those cans are only what? Maybe 2 cups? I mean, sorry, but that is just a thing if I'm going to eat that. So that would mean that with my serving size, that's 84 grams of carbs. Now let's put this in perspective. 84 grams of carbs for a fourth of this salad, for like at 2 cups, maybe 1.5 cups to 2 cups, depending on what you're doing. And like I said, when I made it, I would do double the cans of all the beans. And so then we would have plenty. We'd have a lot, and then it would last and whatever. But we still, because there was so much, it meant that you could have a really good sized, decent serving. I'd use a cereal bowl and we'd have it in our cereal bowls. Just was the thing. So, fourth of that, 84 grams of carbs. And like I said, I'm going to put it into perspective. 4 Krispy Kreme glazed donuts, which I absolutely love and have a hard time driving past when the sign says warm, but I haven't had them for a long time now, because honestly, I would pay for it for who knows how long. That is the equivalent of 4 Krispy Kreme glazed donuts. And you can say, oh yeah, but the fat. Okay, no, let's back up. Canola oil. Canola oil is one of the inflammatory oils that can really cause problems for people. Of course, it was marketed to us in the past as being something that was very healthy, but because it's been around long enough now, some of us have trouble with it, and you can see it. So forget the type of oil or any of that. When I was looking at the amount of fat in the salad, going with the recipe, just pure fat, the 2 cups of the salad was equivalent to over 2 of the glazed donuts for just the fat part of it. Not quite 3, but definitely over 2. So it was really interesting taking a look at it and putting it into perspective. So a 1/3 cup of sugar, just kind of take a look at it, a 1/3 cup of sugar is 43 grams. And we'll be talking more about some of the other things that we think are healthy, that some of them are even more. So very interesting. Now, one of the things then that I have done is I have made this before, gone a little bit heavier on the green beans and maybe a little bit lighter on the other. So I might do like 2 cans of the green beans and less of the other, and then just be really careful. Or I could just do it with the green beans and dressing, and then make that dressing with one of my sugar substitutes that does not raise my blood sugar. And then I would sub avocado oil or olive oil. Now, where it's a cold salad and you're not heating it up, if you're taking a look at, kind of the whole properties of oil and what's better as far as inflammation and stuff, olive oil, of course, is very good for you if you don't heat it to above a certain temperature. And so you wouldn't be doing that with this anyway. So either would work depending on what you like the flavor of. So the first 2 mistakes are kind of thinking that, if it says healthy or if it's healthy or whatever, we might not understand exactly how quote unquote healthy foods impact our weight and our inflammation. So really starting to tune into what our bodies are telling us. And that's my big focus for everything, is what's my body telling me? Tuning in, teaching people how to do that based off their own body. Not medical advice, just paying attention. So many of us aren't in tune to our bodies and just kind of figuring out how to do that. So that's one thing. And then looking at ingredients in something of our favorite foods, things that might surprise us that I could get by with 4 donuts instead of a 3-bean salad that's healthy. That's healthy, right? Beans are healthy. Well, yeah, but if you're trying to lose weight and you find out, like for myself, I have found out that carbs are definitely the thing that seem to impact my weight more, then I have to be aware of that. Now, third error or mistake that people can make with all of this is not understanding how our gender and our age, stage in life can impact things, and how foods can vary on what we should do. And for weight loss specifically, foods can really vary with that. For example, premenopausal women. There's a doctor that I would highly suggest, if this is something that interests you at all, food for women, food for stages in life, that type of thing. There's a doctor's name is Dr. Mindy Pelz, P-E-L-Z, and she's been really, really good. She's also very big on the intermittent fasting and how women should do it differently than men, and she's dived really deep into it. And the super nice thing about it is that she's done her whole hormonal journey pretty close. She must be pretty close to my age, or at least our same stages. And so as I've been dealing with different stages, she's been kind of coming right along and dealing with some of the same stuff. And so that's been very helpful to me. But talking about different foods and what works best for people being aware of what stage you are in life. Premenopausal versus perimenopausal versus postmenopausal. In other words, AKA, are you still, if you're a woman, are you still cycling? Or are you getting ready to stop? Or are you not anymore? Or are you a man? And so the foods really do have a different impact on that. Things that I didn't realize, going back to that bean salad, one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to talk about it is when a woman is still premenopausal and still having cycles, then it is one of the things that she dives deep into and really talks quite a bit about is how the week prior to a woman's cycle, it is best to have high progesterone foods. And progesterone is the hormone that we lose pretty much a lot of it after menopause. It's the one that keeps you calm and all of that type of thing. And that week prior, according to the different research studies that have been done and that she reports on a lot, they have discovered that it is better to have high progesterone foods for women in that week prior. So that's the week when it's better to have things like the root vegetables and like potatoes and sweet potatoes and whole grains and beans, legumes. All of those are high progesterone foods. And so having them the week before the cycle is really good because it helps raise that progesterone up and helps kind of level a person out and make things work a little bit more healthy according to the research that's been out. However, those foods are not the foods, according to the research, that work as well for weight loss. Tropical fruits, great for raising the progesterones, but not so great for weight loss because they spike insulin. So all of the, the grains, the beans, all of that, it all spikes insulin. And so then it cuts down on the weight loss. And so it's one of those things that, you kind of have to look at, because there are very popular diets out there that have huge focuses on grains, which are great for that specific time frame. And so sometimes it may be even kind of like a cyclical thing. Here again, going back to you figuring out you and what works for you. and exploring and seeing, okay, well, can I go ahead and do this? So when I was younger, I look back and it's like, well, I did a lot of that and I felt way more healthy when I would eat grains and beans and things like that. But then I stop and think, okay, you might have felt healthy, but you were a whole person larger too. So maybe I felt healthier because it impacted my hormones, but it didn't have necessarily a healthy impact on my weight and my inflammation. Who knows? Hard to know. So now I'm not there anymore. Definitely gone past that age. And so it's interesting to me now that I find that I really do have to be careful with all of that. So, interesting. There was more research that I was listening today about, kind of that whole aging and things, a whole other piece of information that you have to work on. But I'm going to save that for next week because we've already covered a lot. And so I don't want to just totally yammer on. Basically, my takeaway for this week is that really everybody has specific needs depending on your age, depending on your gender, depending on where you are in life, depending on whether you're trying to just maintain and feel good, or depending on whether you actually have weight loss that needs to happen. And that really, pardon the pun, but the important thing is for you to find your sweet spot. And that is one of the things that I feel like I've really been able to help people and help myself for sure, and come up with kind of a system to figure out what is that. Some easy ways to do it. Now I talk about checking my blood sugar. I know not everybody wants to poke their finger, or, I don't have a CGM. So I have a question for you. Try not to wiggle too much. I'm realizing now that I have some little ants out here and here they bite. And so I have to be careful. So that's why I'm hoping that this feed isn't too wiggly. So as I'm kind of taking the next steps in this entrepreneurial journey of mine, I have decided to put together a quick little workshop to help people to dive into this. So I have a question for you. Would you love to start getting ready for the holidays ahead of time? Setting up a strategy to avoid the dreaded holiday weight that we tend to end up gaining. And who knows, maybe even find that the little black holiday dress that you have in the back of your closet fits better than it did last year. Or, if you're more like me, maybe your black fancy jeans fit better than they did last year. For October, I'm introducing a 4-day workshop. That's just a quick little workshop. And it's going to start. Now, what I'm doing is I'm doing an hour each Thursday night of October. And for those of you that's like, oh shoot, I can't do Thursday nights. Well, I'm also going to set up a recorded one so that you can do a recorded version of it. What's going to be involved in it is about 20 to 30 minutes of kind of a training, and then a Q&A. So people can get their questions in ahead of time or put them in at the chat at the time. But I do plan to record these because then I'm going to do these over again and probably not have them live. So this will be an opportunity to be involved live on it and kind of see how all of that works. And it will be 7 p.m. Central, which means 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And really, honestly, the reason I'm doing it is I'm trying to be able to have it available for people that are working during the day if they want to attend. I'm going to have a private Facebook group, and I know that's not always exciting to people, but that way it gives us an exclusive space for people to be able to put their questions, to be able to connect, and to also be able to stay on track. So that's what I'm working on. It's $49. So that's 4 weeks, 4 hours. And I figure, okay, if you go and get a real fun holiday coffee drink, get 2 of those a week for those 4 weeks, you've already paid for the class. So it is on my website. I will put the link down below so that you can see where it is. But it's on that front page. When you click on it, you'll see it. There's a button at the top you can just click on, or you can scroll on down if you want to take a look at it again. It should open up and make it so that you can just register right there without having to worry about anything, talking to me about it or anything like that. If for some reason it doesn't work or you have questions, just direct message me on it, ask me, and I can take a look and see what's going on. Tech happens, and so we'll see how it all works. But I really look forward to this. I hope as many people join, and if you can't join, at least join the recording and then get a hold of me and put your questions in and participate in the group. I'm going to get out of here. It's starting to rain and I'm getting bit. Hope you have a great weekend.